Hey there photography friends, my name is Henry and on this YouTube channel I share the behind the scenes of my photography adventures.
Look what landscape photography does to us.
Some tips and tricks.
Then we've got the line coming in.
And of course, a little bit of banter.
Get a look at that.
Currently releasing one video per day over the Advent period. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification bell so that you don't miss any of these uploads. Now let's get into today's video.
Oh wow, I'll tell you what, I know it doesn't make me invincible on the roads, but having these snow tyres has honestly been such a game changer. Yeah, as I was coming down the road there, which by the way, I'd have never come down with my normal previous summer tyres that I had before, I was sort of pressing on the brakes a little bit and just, there was no skidding going on whatsoever. That is absolute night and day. So welcome back to the channel, ladies and gents, and back to my little Advent series. And weirdly, that chat there about the winter tyres that I've recently got on my van brings me on quite nicely to what I want to talk about in today's video. Oh, look at this. A little frozen lock and some beautiful light off in the distance, snow-covered pine trees. Oh, this is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, I think this one might be quite interesting because this is a gear purchase, I suppose, that really doesn't have anything to do with photography itself directly. So it's not my camera, lenses, tripods, anything like that. And this is something that I buy, I suppose, continually, and that is books. And for the purpose of this video, I'm talking specifically about locational guidebooks and the value that they bring to us landscape photographers. And I honestly feel like locational guidebooks are some of the most valuable things that I purchase for my landscape photography. Full stop, 100%, because if I come to a location, certainly that I've never been to before and I'm visiting for the first time, and I don't know the first thing about it, think about how priceless a locational guidebook is for finding places to photograph. I mean, for me, it is priceless because you essentially become a local instantly in a way. You get these very specific guides for a very specific area that are telling you where to photograph, what to expect, where to park, the best time of day to go there, etc., etc. And yeah, that to me is extremely valuable. Now the book that I've been using for my time spent here in the Cairngorms is this little beast here, Aviemore and the Cairngorms, 40 Shorter Walks by Paul and Helen Webster. I think they might run the sort of Walk Highlands page as well, I'm not too sure, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but this is just the perfect example. And look, £8.50 for that, and that for me is, I mean, at least 40 probably incredible landscape photography locations. Job done. Think about all the time and effort that saves me, and these are probably places that I would have never found by, I don't know, just scouring Ordnance Survey maps, say. Oh, this is lovely. This is lovely. I'm just sort of meandering up and down the shores of this little loch in here and just trying to focus on some like quieter scenes. I've taken a couple of shots incorporating the sort of distant atmospheric mountain view that we've got, and then some of these kind of patterns in the ice down in the foreground. And what I've done is actually just stuck the Nikon Z7 in shutter priority mode, which I never usually do, and then auto ISO. So I'm essentially just shooting in automatic, just handheld. I keep spinning my bag round like that, just grabbing the camera. It's actually quite a good setup. And then yeah, just whenever something takes my fancy, grabbing a little shot. But I think this is maybe the most promising one so far. I'm certainly not sold on it. The lights a little bit nicer now. You can see I've come down to this little lochen here because, see that? We've got all the light streaming down every now and again when it decides to come out from behind the clouds. But yeah, it's really just adding a lot to all of these little quiet scenes. Oh, this is brilliant, brilliant. We're getting now a really nice glow as the sun is beginning to set behind this little lochen here. And what I'm doing is zooming in pretty much as far as I can at 200mm. In fact, sometimes I'm even using the DX, the crop sensor mode, to get even further in. And I'm just trying to photograph the patterns that we're getting on this ice. What we've got this evening is everything's melting very, very slowly. It's about 2 or 3 degrees, so it's a lot warmer than when I was last out here in the Cairngorms. And I'm trying to play to the environment. You know, that is what's happening today. So let's try and photograph it. So yeah, the first thing that I've been trying to capture is, see how we've got the white as it slowly fades down here into the black as I guess as the ice is slowly starting to melt away here. And we've got these small circular patterns off in the distance. You know, I'm just trying to photograph these like abstract patterns on the top of the loch here as it's melting away. I just think that looks really, really nice. And I suppose it's the sort of thing I had in mind this evening. And secondly, I think I'm going to prefer this one even more, is even further down here just in front of us, you may be able to see these small reeds that are just peeking up from the ice as it melts away again. And what I really like about this is if you look in this sort of area here, we're just getting a beautiful kind of orange, subtle orange glow. It's like an orangey black as that sunlight is reflecting back up off the ice. And again, just zooming right in on some of these reeds and yeah, just trying to get something a little bit abstract. I find it can be a little bit disconcerting when you're on the edge of a loch like this or a lake when it's frozen over, because you've got to be really careful as to where the edge of the land is and you don't have a little step on the ice and fall down and go for a little swim. So going back to what I was talking about before about the books, I think it's a really interesting subject actually, just the whole sort of gear purchases that we make as landscape photographers, or just photographers in general, that I like, they're not direct photography purchases. And for me, some of these things that I buy, like the books, perfect example the books are like incredibly valuable to my photography. So another example for me, well, the tyres I've already spoken about on the van, that's a mad, like random one, isn't it? But that gets me to places that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to get to, and opens up these whole new opportunities for photo shoots that I maybe wouldn't have had. Down jackets, man, outdoor gear. Maybe I wouldn't want to be out here because I'd be too cold, because I wouldn't have my gloves and my hat, my down jacket. Waterproofs, it's another massive one for me. But I think what I'd love to know is what sort of purchases like that do you make? Please drop a comment down below. That would be really interesting to hear. But you know, things that aren't photography gear as such, if you know what I mean, indirect photography purchases, but they help your photography massively. I always think that looking at this area from above, that it looks like a paw, if I can just zoom out. Look at that, like a paw, a dog's paw in the landscape. This area of lochens, pretty cool. So as soon as though we're on the subject of photography guidebooks and how precious they are to us landscape photographers, I thought I'd mention that I've got a couple of ebooks myself. One is a locational guide to Scotland, all landscape photography locations that I've visited myself. They've got my own photographs in them and things like that. And I've got one for the Lake District National Park as well, which I know really well. I think they're proper, like, reasonably priced. And yeah, I'll stick a link in the video description if you want to go and check them out. I'll tell you what, how about this? I will do a bit of a flash sale. I'll do 25% off all of my ebooks for like 48 hours or something daft. So if you want to get them, I suppose now is probably a good time. I've also got a book on composition in landscape photography as well. I'm really proud of. I've had some good feedback, and I think you'll really like them. But yeah, I'll stick a link in the video description below that'll take you straight to my ebooks. Yeah, go and check them out, and it's also a really good way to support the channel, so thank you so much. Oh, I'll tell you what, I am just mincing about, mates, mincing about these little lochans, and yeah, just really trying to keep an eye on little scenes like this with reeds sticking up. Look at this, trees sticking up on this frozen lochan surface here, and I don't know, I think being able to photograph these little intimate, quiet scenes is a fantastic skill to have as a landscape photographer. I think it opens unlimited options, doesn't it? It means you can photograph in your local park and see the world in a little bit of a different way. I don't think I'm particularly very good at this sort of photography just yet. I'm getting better. I've always been so attracted to the big, dramatic, wider scenes, and I suppose I always will, but yeah, I think mainly for what I just said, in that I think it's a really valuable skill to have as a photographer to maybe improve on these little intimate scenes. That's why I'd like to get better at it, man, just because, well, it'll open my eyes to a whole new world, I suppose. Oh, man. Remember what I was saying before about walking next to the loch and go for a swim any minute, man. I'm just quite attracted to this little section over here. I want to go and have a peek, and then again, you may be able to see off in the background there, the sky's just starting to catch a little bit of colour. So yeah, I think that's the place to be over there. So I've really, for the past like 10 minutes or so, just been trying to get closer to, look at this section here. We've got these golden brown reeds, loads of beautiful patterns in the ice. But to be honest with you, it's a little bit perilous. Like at the best of times, it's been a bit touch and go. So I'm going to have to leave it, or else I'm going to end up going for an icy swim. And I don't fancy that at all because, well, that would just be daft. Oh, yeah, let's get out of here. Let's go and find a path. Oh, look at this. There was a little path right near us. I think it's like a little boardwalk. And look at that. That's lucky, isn't it? Right. I'm going to go over to them trees there because that area is essentially the little section of that lochlan that I was trying to get to. So, yeah, we'll see what that's got to offer, because we've probably only got about 45 minutes left of the light, and I don't know, it's hard to tell, isn't it, because I haven't seen the photographs, but I don't feel particularly delighted with any images that I've got so far. But I'll tell you what, this is a wonderful little photo walk either way. Do you know what I always think, especially when I'm in Scotland and I'm in the snow and stuff like that, and especially when I'm feeling maybe like I am at the minute, a bit kind of, oh, I wish my photographs were better. I always manage, or not always, a lot of the time, I manage to think like, how lucky am I, man? And I don't mean that, you know, I'm doing this for a living, but just to be here. I remember when I lived in Canada, when I first got to Toronto, and, you know, obviously this would be the same for a lot of different nationalities, but I had a lot of friends from Australia, and obviously, like, parts of Australia does get snow, but these people lived in places where they didn't get snow. And when it snowed in Toronto, they were going mad for it. And they were like kind of early 20s and they'd never seen the snow. And I just always think back to how incredible that was. And yeah, I guess my point is, like, to me, this is paradise, but to some people, this is paradise. And, you know, they'll maybe never get to experience it, or, you know, maybe it's hard work for them to experience it. You know, they might have to travel a lot. And here I am, wandering around on my own in this winter wonderland, this Scottish paradise, man. And look at this as well. Got a lovely safe path. This is a haven and a half, isn't it? Lovely safe path. And we've managed to get to all our little patterns. And look through the trees. We're starting to get a little bit of colour. This is the perfect spot. lovely, lovely, man. Pure peace. We've even got across the frozen loch here just a small little bit of mist starting to develop, adding a sprinkling of atmosphere. Listen to that silence. The only thing I can hear is the drips of the water as that snow is freezing from the branches of the trees, and the occasional thump of snow as it falls down from some of the edges of the branches. So this is exactly the sort of thing that I had in mind as I've been walking up and down the shores of this particular loch, and is some of these reeds, but quite specifically I wanted the reeds to have a decent amount of colour. I found this little tuft here that's just nice and golden with a few subtle green tones as well, and then the background, this was probably just as important, the background had to be black. It couldn't be this white section of the loch, and where I suppose it's a thin layer of snow still lies. And it's brilliant because I've got the polarizer on the front and it's helping to bring out that dark background. It's cutting any of the white reflections that we've got, and it's giving us that contrast between the colour of the reeds and the lack of colour of the background behind the reeds. I've taken the image ISO 64 f6.3, and it's around about a 1/2 second exposure, which is fine because there's absolutely no movement in the reeds, and I've manually focused as well just to make sure that the reeds themselves are pin sharp. That's really important for this photograph, and I've just stuck it in a square crop as well because I think it works. Although it's not going to be a groundbreaking photograph, I've really enjoyed this kind of photo shoot in a different way. I think, unfortunately, a lot of whether or not I've enjoyed a photo shoot could be down to whether or not I get good photographs, you know, and I think that's a bit rubbish. It's a bit shallow, and I hope I can have more of these sorts of photo shoots where the experience of being out and enjoying taking photographs and just enjoying being outdoors, that can be the lasting memory. I think that's much better, isn't it? That is much better. So I'm going to head off in this direction here and scoot round, because you can probably see a lot of this mist that's lingering. I'm feeling from here it's quite difficult to photograph, but it's sort of heading into this woodland, and I don't know if it might almost be quite foggy in there. So yeah, I think it's worth a shot. Well, so I've actually gone full circle, and this is me now back at the first little lochen that was at. I mean, the car park's only on the other side of it, 5 minutes walk. I'm grabbing a couple of sort of handheld photographs of this big pine tree leading into the lochen, and then a second image of this big pine tree leading in. And I think what I love is, as you can see, where all the snow has melted, and it's just created these like dark black patches underneath them. And I just love the way they're leaning over into the icy waters. And then maybe not so much now, but when I first got here, we had these kind of subtle pinks up in the sky as the sun's gone down, and yeah, really, really nice. I've just taken them handheld. I've put it in a sort of like a 5:4 aspect ratio, and then again it's just on shutter priority, 1/125th of a second, to make sure there's no movement. You know, that'll be more than a quick enough shutter speed. F4, and then ISO is just an auto. It's around about 280. Just because I'm enjoying it more than anything, like not using the tripod, and it's just not really necessary, is it? But I'm hoping these images are quite sort of dramatic feeling. You can see, look in the middle of the loch, and there we've just got this, again, more of this kind of fog, this mist that's lingering, and again, just hopefully adding a little bit of atmosphere to the photographs. But such a joy to shoot. So I'll leave you with those two images in just a second, and just wanted to say another massive thank you for those of you that are continuing to follow me along on my little Advent series. Do hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell so that you know when these uploads are being released, but it is every day. And yeah, just another quick mention to my ebooks and stuff, like that'll be in the video description below. Thank you very much for your support. Like I said, I'll put this little sale on, and most of all, I appreciate you all so much. You're all wonderful, and I am so grateful that your support allows me to do this for a living, to roam the wilds of Scotland with my camera on these beautiful evenings. Man, I'm so lucky. And yeah, cheers. Drop some comments below about the topic of today's video, and I hope you like these last 2 shots. Thanks again, and I shall see you on the next adventure. Out.